Jason Christopher, Kinetic Basement Solutions. Greatest takeaways. Well, the one thing is the healthy basement. That was something that we were actually planning because of the situation that we're in currently with taking over Joe's business. We were looking, his kind of slogan was utilize your basement, and we just bought our first box truck and we're gonna have it lettered up or whatever, and we've actually got a spot on our business card that was kind of blank because we actually don't have our names on it. We took his name off, but we got this blank spot, and Greg and I had already been throwing around we were just playing with the words and actually bouncing it off a couple other people, like create a healthy home, that's what it came down to being actually, is like, it's gonna say on one side of our box truck, it's gonna say utilize your basement. On the other side, it's gonna say create a healthy home. So that's like, that's a huge takeaway. So just when Steve, we spent the extra day here on Wednesday, which was great for me, Greg, and Chris to be out here and just to have like 10 hours with Steve and you guys. And when he said that, Greg was actually in the bathroom, and he's like, when Steve was like, we're gonna go with, Healthy Basements Inc. And I'm like, Greg, you just missed a pretty significant thing in that like 3 minutes you weren't in here. And he's like, what? And I'm like, so it coincides with what we were already thinking about. So, and you guys are the big backing of what we're doing. So it works perfectly in terms of like the network. And this is the first time that we've been out here just to be able to meet these other guys and just chat with them, like bump into them in like the hotel room and be like, hey, I'm Jay from Albany, New York area. So just to be able to talk to these guys, and it just seems like everyone's upbeat and everyone's positive, and just kind of like, the healthy thing is huge, and then the choice and control also is obviously, so it just seems like when I spend 18 hours a day with Greg and I'm leaving his house at 1 in the morning, or I'm falling asleep on his couch at 1 in the morning, and we start talking at 7 after the day, and after we've dealt with the office and after we've dealt with the guys and they've finally left, and it's like, okay, now we need to spend 8 hours together. So we're constantly bouncing ideas off, and it's just like, now I feel like we're part of like a bigger thing than just being Kinetic Basement Solutions out of the Capital District in New York. Now it's like, it's a network. You guys are backing us. You pretty much like opened up the doors to saying, we're here to help you guys, and obviously we need some help because the past 8 weeks has just been a roller coaster for us, and so just to be able to come in here and sit down with yourself or Steve or Micah or Mike and just like, it's I can see how your company is a family, and like that's what we want our company to be like. But then it's like, almost as this network grows, it's like then we're all part of like the same family. So I don't even remember what the original question was, but there's a lot more. Me and Greg and I bought these freaking iPads on our way on the road, like out the door. We're like, what is this thing? And now I feel like I can't even function without one. I've only owned it for like 72 hours. And for like, everything. Like lunch yesterday, like Chris, our foreman, like sat next to Steve, and those guys were like just chatting during lunch, and then at dinner last night, and then again at like lunch today. And it's like you're making relationships, which all leads to, and it's all the same kind of relationships you want to make with like your customer, and like the whole thing, like the rapport with like your customer, like, because I already have a complete understanding of like, no swearing on the job, no talking about what you did last night. Like, people don't want to hear that. People want respect. They want clean. They want to see like the final product. They want, if it takes sweeping their sidewalk, or if it takes, like you said, like bringing like the groceries in, or like whatever. Like for me, that's already automatic. Like just based on like my construction background and being at a different person's house every day when I was.
To teach that to your employees.
Yeah, but then like Chris already had like. Chris, our installer, like he already has all of that because he's telling me stuff, and I'm like, yeah, no kidding, like that's exactly what I want. So for it to be coming out of his mouth, and then it's like, so now we've got kind of like an inner network of our own, because it's like me and Greg, it just the way everything evolved for us, like personally as a company. But that's kind of getting away from like your question. But another thing is like not the whole part with customers, like people want to buy, but they don't want to be sold. And like the other thing was like, just be like convicted. Like we are selling like the best product. We don't have to worry about anyone else. Like we have the best product. Like, so that whole like power with like your conviction and like keep your pricing like the same, like it all, even if it was things that me and Greg have been talking about for the past 4 weeks, it was like you guys were saying things and I was almost knowing what you were going to say, but for you to be saying like reaffirms, it solidifies a bunch of stuff. And everything we've done, we knew we were coming out here for 3 days, so it was like we're going to have so much more stuff figured out like once we get out there. And I mean, you guys have just been like great to help us.
That was awesome. That was really awesome. My last question, which and this is a very short answer because you only have the time it takes from get to the 5th floor to the 1st floor. If you're in an elevator and someone turned to you and said, "What are you doing?" What would your answer be?
It just goes right back to the health. It's like your kids, your parents, you yourself are living in this house. I mean, I went over to my buddy's house the day of the hurricane, and not because there was a hurricane going on, just because I was like driving around town. I just popped in. I don't get to stop at his house very often. Go down in his basement. I'm like, dude, like, look at your windows. Look at like, there's like mold here. And then like as the rain like started to pick up, in the 20 minutes I was in his basement and already I'm like, you need a classic, you need a dehumidifier in here, man. I'm like, your kids live here? I mean, I was being a little additionally because it was my buddy, but he starts getting all of this like anxiety. And then as we're talking to him, water starts coming in like, you know, he's got the French drain around his basement, but then water starts coming in underneath the block. Next thing you know, I've got him like outside, like digging like a trench. I'm like, the water's coming in from there. And it's just, I mean, but that's, to answer your question, it's just like people, the air through your house, the air in your home is coming up from your basement and you're living there. I mean, just like jobs that we've been at already, you know, it's like, and it's like people that are upset, they're like, my dad lives here, and we're just like, this is not good. Like, I mean, and it's something that a lot of people don't realize, which is crazy. When you walk into someone's basement and like that smell or that air just hits you in the face, and it's like, you know, how much that affects their health. And people adapt like their health. Like if something doesn't seem right, they kind of become used to it before they actually go do something about it. And then you're used to this problem, but like you can eliminate it. So I think health pretty much covers like, I can get through that. Like, I'm gonna create a healthy home for you.